Hi, welcome to the Big Bear Homestead. Today is episode 11 in our home maintenance series. So today we're going to talk tool safety. All right, in this week's episode on home maintenance, we're talking about power tools and more specifically safety when using power tools. Well, the first little tidbit that we need to talk about is PPE, personal protective equipment. That is equipment that is designed to protect you, whether it's from splinters, sparks, just the loud whine of your tools. And those are things like safety goggles, safety glasses, hearing protection, whether it's goggles or plugs, muffs or plugs. Welding gloves, an apron, things along those lines. The job of those tools is to specifically protect you from any hazard that can come about with you using saws, grinders, or welders. So now that we got ourselves protected, what about our tools? All right, so we got ourselves protected with our PPE. Now let's make sure our tools are safe. If you're using a corded tool, one of the first things you need to do is make sure that cord is in working order. So start at the base, make sure there's no cracks, breaks, exposed wire. Grab your cord in your hand, run your hand over it, and be looking at it at the same time. Make sure you don't feel any cracks, breaks, or exposed wires. That's good to go. Examine your plug part. Make sure it's not cracked, broken, or nothing's exposed. Look at your tongs. Make sure they're in working order. Nothing's bent, broke. Make sure they're all there. Some of them have 3 prongs, and that bottom one, everybody's like, well, it's just a ground. No, you need that for safety. If you're using a battery-operated tool, give your battery a real quick once over. Make sure there's no cracks, breaks. Make sure there's nothing leaking out. Make sure your connections are all clean and clear. When you go to put it in your tool, give your tool a once over. Make sure there's nothing stuck down in there. Make sure you got a good connection. Seat it, and then make sure it has a good seat. Okay? Now, when it comes to the tool itself, make sure your safety guards are all in place. Make sure they're working. Okay? Make sure your safety button is working. Push it. Make sure it moves easily. Grab your trigger. Give it a once. Okay? When you're using circular saws and stuff like that, you can go to the extreme and do like we did in the Boy Scouts when our scouts were using axes and saws, and you can make what we call a blood circle, where you hold your tool out and you go like this all the way around you. And if anybody's inside that circle, they're wrong. That's your safety circle. Now, if you've got a saw that you got to change out the blade like a jigsaw or a reciprocating saw, once it's in there, if it's corded, but do this before you plug it in, make sure it's seated in there good, because the last thing you want is to have a bad seated blade and be sawing through a 4x4 and it goes patinga. And that's a technical term. Okay, so now that we have our tools covered and they're safe to use, how do we safely use them? Okay, to safely use power tools is nothing more than simply common sense and paying attention to what you're doing. Most accidents that happen with power tools is not because the power tool itself was unsafe. It was because we were unsafe. We do the unthinkable, like remove the safeties. Table saws are notorious for this. A lot of people remove the safety guard from a table saw, or they'll remove the flanges right here. And those flanges help prevent a kickback, but they still get removed. And as you can see, It happened with this table saw in my shop. But to be honest, the safety guard itself broke. But the guys that I had working for me did remove the flanges, and they got lost. So I need to get all new safety stuff for my table saw. But then if all your safeties and stuff are in place, it's just you using the tool correctly. They've got handle spots for you to hold. So that way your hands are out of the way of the blades. You just got to focus on what you're doing. Put your hands in the right spots. Don't put your hands in front of the saw blade if it's a saw. Don't put your hand up underneath the drill if it's a drill. If you do, you will have a bad day. But most important thing is don't let yourself get distracted and accidents won't happen. Okay, well that does it for this week in home maintenance. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to check us out on the web at www.bigbearhomestead.com. You can also come over to Facebook and give us a like, and you can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter. I'd like to remind everybody of our live shows twice a week on Mondays and Saturdays. If you guys enjoyed this video, you thought it was informative, hey, do us a favor, give us the old like, give us the thumbs up. If you know somebody that could probably benefit from seeing this video, hey, share it. If you have any questions or maybe some of your own horror stories about tool safety and things that you may have witnessed, hey, leave them in the comments below. I just remind everybody to be nice and courteous to each other. If this is your first time visiting the Big Bear Homestead, hey, thanks. And if you liked it, hey, go ahead and hit that icon over there in the lower right hand corner. That'll take you to the page where you can subscribe, and then you can also hit the gray bell to tell YouTube you want to be notified when we put out a new video. And even if you're not sure, I'd suggest you go ahead and subscribe. You never know what kind of video we're going to put out, and you may just enjoy it. Hey, give us a chance. Well, there it is. In a nutshell, all the solicitations done. Thanks for coming by the Big Bear Homestead. Remember to be safe with your power tools. And like always, have a nice day. What is this week's episode again? I've only done this same take 3 times already, and now I'm going to just completely forget what this episode is about. Quick flip, like that, but probably would be best to use the safety handle to the safety guard instead of trying to be the guy making a video and it's just going to run his finger like this and then probably cut his finger wide open, so now we got to do another take.